Hello and welcome to Cultural Exchange. In this show, we'll take you on virtual tours to exotic places all around the world, and you'll never have to pack a suitcase. I'm your host, Alex Pierce, and I'm coming to you from San Francisco, the heart of virtual reality. In our first season, we're going to take you to Israel. From the Golan Heights to the Red Sea, you'll experience Israel through the eyes of its people. Welcome to Cultural Exchange.
together, we found over here 11 caves with scrolls.
Wow.
The whole back over there is cave number 4. And in that cave, we found 15,000 pieces.
Wow.
Now, first of all, why do people have scrolls in their caves? Probably it's the year 68. The Jewish people are making a revolt against the Romans. The Romans are on the way to Jerusalem. And people over here says, let's put our scrolls in caves, and when then the Romans have passed by, we can take them out again. The Romans are coming, and the Romans kill everybody over here. Right? And the scrolls were forgotten for 1900 years. And today we have 930 scrolls coming out of Qumran. Where did the people of Qumran pray? The people that lived over here, where did they pray? What did he say?
Synagogue.
Synagogue. It's interesting. On Masada we found a synagogue. Over here we did not find a synagogue. They did not pray in the synagogue because there wasn't any synagogue over here. So where would you have communal prayer if there's no synagogue? Communal prayer would be in the dining room. Because what are you doing in the dining room? Or how do you start your meal? How does a Jewish person start his meal? A Jewish start his meal by blessing God that is giving us this bread. And if I'm blessing Him that have given me this bread, let me continue and bless and give thanks for all the other things that they have done. If you ever been to a Jewish home, for example, Passover meal, or been to a Jewish wedding, or anything, we have a long grace after meal. And I never understood why is it so long in talking about rebuilding Jerusalem and all kind of things. Why can't we, when I grew up and went to Jewish camp, why can't we say, hey God, thanks for the food, going to play soccer, see you later, bye. Right? You know, but we had this long prayer because a meal is a religious service. Where does Jesus introduce the Holy Communion? In a meal, in a dining room. See how the connection, right? Same tradition. Now, what would a Jewish person do before he's sitting down having a meal? Wash his hands. Now, if you're a bunch of fanatics, what are you going to do? Not only wash your hands, the Essenes would go to ritual baths twice daily. And you would go down on this side, and you would come up on this side, and you have the small fence over here, and then you would enter into the dining room, and at the dining room you would have your communal meal, which would not only be food for your body, but also food for your soul, and that would be a religious service with a good view. Now, understand one thing. This is a bunch of fanatics. As I said, twice daily ritual baths. The belief of the Essenes was, I'm right, you're wrong. I am the sons of light, you're the sons of darkness. And if you wanted to be a member of the Essenes, what would you have to do? First you would turn towards west, when the sun is going down, and you would curse the sons of darkness. And then you would turn towards the sun is coming up, and you would bless the sons of light. Take the New Testament, Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus is saying, you have heard, but I tell you, you've heard, but I tell you, you should hate thy enemy. But I tell you, where in the Old Testament is it written that you should hate your enemy? Nowhere. In what book was it written? The book we found over here, the war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. Which means, Mitch, maybe John the Baptist had some kind of contact with these people because they're very close to each other. But John the Baptist could not have belonged to these scenes.
Spent too much time in Jerusalem.
Because what is he doing? He's baptizing the sons of darkness. Or you belong to me and my group, or I don't care about you.
Possibly he could have started with them and then left.
He could have started with them and then left, or have contact with them, but he could not have belonged to them.
They were the only ones who were really doing ritual baptism for sin back then, right? He had sort of gotten that.
Before you would have gone to the temple, everyone that would have gone to ritual bath was being cleansed before you're facing God. John the Baptist did not baptize people to believe in Jesus. He followed Jewish tradition. But what I'm trying to say, there might have been some contact. I just talked about that Jesus had contact with this group of people. But Jesus could not have been a member of this group, because he's going to Jericho. I'm going to have lunch with Zacchaeus. Right? John the Baptist doesn't ask people, excuse me, sir, are you seen? Oh, you're not, I can't baptize you. This is a small fanatic group that try to isolate themselves. So maybe John the Baptist starts over here and leaves this group. Maybe he knows them and they know him because he's in the desert and they're in the desert, but he could not have belonged to this group. Jesus could not have belonged to this group, even if there was contact. You understand my point of view? Right? And this makes it so interesting, because I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and things that is common between this place and the New Testament. And then I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, things that are completely different. And this is where the scholars are standing today. Connection, but not being exactly the same thing, or not belonging to the same branch on the Jewish tree. Because here you have a group of fanatics that hated everybody else. Once upon a time, I will be back in power. And when I'm back in power, this is how we're going to do things. And you have this book, The War Between the Sons of Light Against the Sons of Darkness. If you look behind me, the Dead Sea has been shrinking so much that today there are 2 Dead Seas. You can walk across the Dead Sea. So it's not cool, because we have over here ecological disaster. Right? When the Dead Sea is shrinking and the sinkholes and everything that's happening over here, we need to solve that. One way of solving it is to make a water channel coming from the Red Sea, from Aqaba, Elat, a joint Jordanian-Israeli international project, bringing water up over here so we can keep the balance of the Dead Sea, because it's shrinking 3 feet a year. And if something shrinks, the shoreline gets 10 feet or 20 feet away. So the Dead Sea is getting smaller and smaller.
The main guy that builds Masada is King Herod. See, on the northern side, there's a palace that was built in the mountain. We're going to be standing on one of the terraces there, imagining King Herod drinking his wine and talking with his Roman friends in Masada. And then after that, we will see some of the storage places that he had here. And we'll also understand something very significant, because on Masada, there's no natural water source. Okay? No springs, nothing. But somehow they had enough water, first of all, to have a siege. There was a siege over here. We talked a little bit about that. It lasted around 3 years. Okay? There was a lot of water. There's also a lot of swimming pools. There's a bathhouse, a Roman bathhouse here. There is a mikvah, a lot of mikvahs here. How do they bring the water up the mountain? We'll answer that question.
Send women down to bring it up.
Something like that, but there's an answer to that. And finally, we'll end at the western side of the mountain. There is a ramp that was built, but the Romans built that at the end of the siege. We'll end there. Okay, so that's.
on the top.
Yeah, pour it over.
Rains. All of it's gonna get caught. It'll be pretty smart king here, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What do you do in a synagogue at this period of time? You read, you study, you talk, you discuss different topics. That's what you do in a synagogue at this period of time. Okay, this is this is a rare synagogue, one of few that dates back to the Second Temple period, which means it might have been that this synagogue was around while the temple existed.
Right.
It's very significant because today when we talk about synagogue, it's a replica of the Mikdash. It's Mikdash Me'at. It's a replica of the temple. It's something small to represent what the temple was. Later on in the Galilee, we're going to have some time in a synagogue, beautiful synagogue from in the Galilee. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is kind of an example of that, and it's one of the rarest synagogues in the world.